Foreign Elias dumped several months' worth of rain in less than a day as it swept across Greece on Wednesday, just weeks after Storm Daniel killed 17 people in the southern European nation. Villages were flooded, roads inundated, and schools forced to close in several municipalities as Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis mobilized state emergency services and military personnel to boost defenses in areas, including the northern Thessaly region. The Greek fire service said it had moved more than 3,000 people to safer locations since Tuesday as the weather deteriorated on Wednesday night. The European Severe Weather Database ESUD announced that months' worth of rain had fallen within the preceding 24 hours and more is on the way, with the storm expected to continue at least through Thursday with heavy rain, hail, and thunder. According to Greece's meteorological service, the storm is mainly affecting central Greece, a region still reeling from the aftermath of Daniel, which hit the country in early September, tearing down critical infrastructure, turning villages into lakes, and killing at least 17 people. The port city of Volos in Thessaly is among those to have been hit hard by both storms during Daniel. Volos experienced more than 10 times its average September rainfall, while Elias has flooded roads near the port, and Greek police have banned traffic circulation in the city as a precaution. According to ESUD and the World Meteorological Organization, Volos saw 298 millimeters, 11.7 inches of rainfall in a 14-hour period from Elias, more than 8 times the city's September average. Other cities across Greece also saw heavy rainfall. Lindley saw 216 millimeters, 8.5 inches in 7 hours, while Istia saw 140 millimeters, 5.5 inches in 3.5 hours. Greek public broadcaster ERT reported that villages had flooded and roads collapsed on the island of Evia, which was ravaged by wildfires in 2021. Greece is one of at least 10 countries and territories to have been hit by severe flooding this month. Scientists warned that these types of extreme weather events affecting countries all over the world may become increasingly common as the climate crisis accelerates, putting pressure on governments to prepare. The floods caused by Storm Daniel, which followed devastating wildfires in the country, have the fingerprints of climate change. Greek Environment Minister Theodoros Skylakakis told local media on September 12, "We have had the warmest summer on record. The scene was very warm, which led to this unique meteorological event," he said. More than 250 people have been evacuated from the area since Storm Elias struck on Wednesday afternoon, the fire brigade said on Thursday, adding that it had so far received 1,200 calls for help. The authorities said the worst damage was reported around Volos and in northern parts of the nearby island of Evia, an area vulnerable to flooding due to massive wildfires 2 years ago. Water levels in the city and its suburbs rose rapidly in a few hours, and a nearby stream overflowed, adding to the flooding. Many Volos residents said the authorities were still dealing with the aftermath of Daniel and had not been adequately prepared for another storm. Military and municipal crews scrambled to flooded areas. They placed flood victims, many of them elderly, in dinghies or excavator buckets to lead them to safety. The residents in Volos used plastic buckets and blooms to push the mud out of their homes and to try to protect their belongings. Among them was 83-year-old Apostolos Teferis, who has lived in a suburb of the city since 1955. "I have never seen anything like this," Teferis said, looking out the window of his ground-floor home as knee-high floodwater gushed past. Earlier, he and other residents on History tried to push mud and floodwater out of his home. "The water came in and we were practically swimming," the Pharaohs said. "We stayed upstairs with our tenant." Authorities said the worst damage was reported around Volos and in northern parts of the nearby island of Evia, an area vulnerable to flooding due to the impact of massive wildfires. 2 years ago, the European Union has promised Greece more than €2 billion in financial support to cope with the damage caused by summer wildfires and the ongoing floods, while Athens is renegotiating the terms of other aid packages to direct funds toward climate change adaptation. Volos has been hit a second time with a storm of lasting duration. "The state is with those who are struggling," Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said in Parliament. The positive course of the country has been overshadowed by natural disasters that are attacks caused by climate change. Mitsotakis promised to rebuild infrastructure to a higher standard after roads, bridges, and rail tracks were washed away in the floods, but many flood victims in Volos said they felt unprotected, angered that their homes have been damaged for a second time. The situation wasn't just handled in an amateur way. City resident Pantos Panica said it was handled in a way that was extremely dangerous. Meanwhile, crews were struggling to restore power and water supply to a large part of the city of Volos in central Greece on Thursday, after torrential rain hit several parts of the country just a few weeks after another megastorm flooded the same region. An SMS message via the 112 emergency number was sent to residents of Volos, reminding them that traffic in the city was banned by order of the police due to dangerous weather phenomena. MAC fire service crews carried out overnight rescues with hundreds of citizens trapped in houses and shops. Cars have been swept away by the rushing torrents, and large amounts of mud covered the streets, ending up into the sea. Most of the flooding was in the center of Volos and its ring road, where streets disappeared underwater while roads to Elias and Agria were inaccessible. Once again, the 12-kilometer Craft Sedona stream, which collects water from Pelion and crosses several districts of Volos before ending up in the west side of the port and the Pagasetic Gulf, burst its banks, flooding the surrounding districts. The city has been without drinkable water since Storm Daniel destroyed pipes and infrastructure 2 weeks ago, and citizens were supplied with bottled water distributed in several parts of the city by municipal authorities. At least 8 creek villages were ordered to be evacuated after another powerful storm hit the central parts of the country, flooding rural areas and sweeping away roads. Hundreds of people were left stranded nearby mountain villages. Authorities said people's lives are in danger, said Mr. Beos, adding that he himself remained trapped. 80% of the city is without power. I don't know where God found so much water. It's like the story of Noah's Ark, he said. Apart from the 8 villages evacuated near Volos, residents in large parts were urged to stay indoors on Wednesday as floodwaters rose and road traffic was banned in Volos. Photos and videos showed floodwaters gushing through the streets after the torrential downpour. So far, there have been no reports of death, but flooding has damaged several roads, homes, and bridges repeatedly battered by extreme weather events. The Greek government on Wednesday declared that adapting to climate crisis has become a national priority. I will restate the obvious: the frequency of weather assaults due to the climate crisis is something that requires us to integrate civil protection in our response, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis told a cabinet meeting Wednesday. Adaptation to the climate crisis is a fundamental priority in all our policies, he said.